Hey everybody, hello and welcome to Tie with Postfly. Today we're going to be tying the Moss's Bass Popper, which is a kind of a different take on a gurgler. It's a great all-around pattern for anything that eats on the top or is chasing bait fish. I like to use it for striped bass up here in the early season, especially with the herring runs that we get. They tend to have this bluish color in the water. So just a quick disclosure, we're going to be a little bit shorter today, going to be about 30 minutes. I unfortunately am coming down with a bit of a head cold and my voice hurts. So we're going to get a couple of these tied, walk you guys, everybody through it, and then we'll get out of here. If you haven't bought the kit already, the link is in the description. We can ship it out, you can rewatch this video and tie along with us. We're not going to be tying next Thursday night because we at Postfly are going to be having a kick-ass holiday party right here. So I won't be able to, we might be broadcasting live from the party, but we won't be tying flies. So if you're in the area in the North Shore, Massachusetts or greater New England area, come down here Thursday night next week. Let us drink a beer with you, give you some food. Hang out with a bunch of other fishy folks from around here. So yeah, let's get started. So, yep, you can see the example fly. I would recommend cutting your foam to fit the example flies trimming. I'll show you how I did that for these. But yeah, let's get started. So first thing first, we're gonna grab one of our 1/0 tin-plated saltwater hooks. Hey Kyle, what's going on? What's going on, Daniel? I'm coming from South Carolina. I'm sure you're plenty familiar with fishing gurglers. Alright. So we're going to get our thread started. Just going to tighten my bobbin real quick. Hey Mark Bump, what's going on? Good to have you hanging out with us tonight. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of cover the shank with thread, and we're going to keep cranking. There we go. Alright, now it's just this is just going to help us control our materials a little bit better, make sure they grab and don't spin around the hook while we're trying to manipulate them. Alright, so first things first, we're going to take a tuft of our craft fur here. Get it out of the bag. And I'm just going to take, all we're really going to need for what we're tying, these couple we're going to tie along with us right now, we're just going to take one of these little clumps. Don't need to take all of the materials out of the bag and clutter up your tying area. Set that aside. So I'm going to take a tuft, pretty decent tuft of this stuff. You don't have to go crazy thick with it, you don't have to go crazy sparse, just kind of play around whatever's easiest for you as you're learning to tie this pattern. So I'm taking a tuft about that big. I trim it off with my scissors here. And as you guys remember, you're going to take one hand and grab these tips, your left hand grab these other tips, and we're just going to pull out those under fibers because those are just going to get in the way. So I like, for my streamer lengths for gurglers and stuff, I'll usually try and go the length of the hook. So I'll measure it out with my hand, there we go. I'm going to lay it down on top of the hook, measure it out, and I like that length right there. And like I said, I went a little sparse with this one. Feel free to get a little thicker with it. If that's what you want to do and you want that type of profile, that's really up to you. So now that we've got that tail in there, I'm going to trim up my tag ends here. Slow down, let our live audience catch up a little bit. Yep. Mark, you may find it to be easier if, as you pinch it, with taking your left hand and grab the fibers at the hook.
Okay.
Like right at the bend.
Yeah, I get it.
And then tie right close to your fingertips.
At the bend.
So like, see how my hand is here?
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna wrap right there.
Oh,
so
okay.
where my tie-in point, I've got a lot of control over the material.
I see.
So I'm gonna take out one strand of our crystal flash here. And I'm just gonna double it over in my hands and trim it down to half its size. Just by cutting that little loop there. And now that we have, we'll do it a second time because these are still kind of long. Don't worry if your crystal flash is kind of kinky or whatnot. That's kind of normal. And as you fish this fly, that'll kind of work itself out. So as you guys might remember, we're going to use a center tying method to tie in our flash. So I'm going to take it, double it over my thread, and then use that to position it into place where I want it. So I want it right about there. Get a couple trapping wraps.
I'm going to trim it out.
There we go. So we're going to do another one on the other side. So take out another strand of your crystal flash. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to double it over and trim it in half twice. So there's one. So now I have two fibers. I'm going to repeat. And then I'm going to trim that again. And then we're just going to center tie that in on the side closest to you, or whichever side you didn't put the other flash on. Three. And Mark, I don't know if you noticed how I'm kind of being a little gentler with the way I'm wrapping, going slow. Sometimes slowing down can just allow you to be a little bit more conscious of how your thread is acting and to reduce breaks.
So just one piece, yeah?
Yeah, one piece, and then I double it over twice and trim it. And then I center tie it in, which I think Pete showed you on the acrylics,
Yep.
where you double it over your thread. Hey Trent, this is a 1/0 hook. And Kyle, yes, you can use bucktail. For flies of this style, you can really kind of play around with it. They're all really variations on a theme. So the more the merrier, get creative with it, mess with different color combinations, figure out what your local fish like, and just try and make sure you can feed them what they want. Hey everybody.
Just trim it.
Alright, and Mark, once you have those tied in, go ahead and move your thread all the way back to right here, where you tied in your first clump of craft fur. How's everybody doing tonight? We did this last week, right? We did the Yellow Celly last week. I keep forgetting, the holidays are insane around here. So I'm using a right bobbin here. This is a little bit more step above what's normal. I like it because it's got a tunable drag, so I can control my tension a little bit better. And yeah, so who's gonna try and come to our Christmas party? What's going on, Eduardo Martinez? This will soon be a fly to catch fish with. All right. So once you have that set up, you're gonna take out your. We're gonna take out this white yarn that came in your kit. You can cut off. We gave you plenty, so you can cut off a long enough strand where you can easily manipulate it. And we're gonna tie that in right. So coming out the back like this.
Okay.
And then all we're gonna do is, and then once you get that secured, you're gonna move your thread up to right about there. You want to give yourself some room on the nose of the fly there. Eduardo, I'm sure you would put fish me. I don't know what you're saying right now. But glad you're here. Thanks for watching. It's gonna be fun. So once you've got your yarn or whatever your body wrap material is gonna be, we're going to start. I'm gonna wrap the opposite way I move my thread, but you can. There's no wrong or right answer to this. So Mark, you might want to get yours a little bit further back, so it's just at the bend of the hook.
Okay.
So you can use your thread to wrap.
Yep. Wrap it back.
To control the material.
Yep. Got it.
There you go. That's good. And now secure that and wrap all the way with your thread. Wrap back up to the top.
Okay.
So that way your thread's out of the
Yep.
way and it won't get trapped.
Got it.
All right. Everybody there? Nick, you might want to trim the fibers that are off the front.
Trim those off
Yeah.
the front.
Once you're done.
Cover the white.
No, you don't need to cover it because it's going to cover itself because it's going to get wrapped.
That's all you can do.
Oh, what's going on, Brian Custers? I don't know what this guy's talking about. All right, so I'm going to start wrapping our yarn now.
Okay.
So you can do it whatever direction you want, but all you're going to do is just make sure that the material is always touching so it's a consistent body. So we're going to keep wrapping. And I'm going to do the little trick I've shown you guys a couple times. I'm going to wrap around this material with my thread twice. And then secure that tie-in. Leave my thread hanging, drop my scissors. And then I'm going to trim off my yarn. So after we do this, we're going to kind of make a little, we're going to make a black nose, and you're going to see, because we're going to switch. As you guys probably noticed, you've got two colors of thread in your kit. So after, we're going to really quick, after we get this black thread secured, all I'm going to do is grab my whip finish tool, this little guy, and I'm going to, oh, this whip finish tool has seen some better days. Much better days. All right, and we're just going to, you can hand tie it or whip finish it. We're just going to get that thread. Now that's secured. And now we're going to take our bobbin, take this thread off, and for you guys, if you don't want to switch your bobbin, we can do that on the final tie. And you can just follow along this way. But you're going to have to whip finish and cut at the top because the way we tie in the foam. Alright, so while I'm switching threads, hey Greg Sherwood, we are tying Moss's Bass Popper. It's a gurgler variant that works really well for pretty much anything that eats bait fish on the top. How has everybody's week gone so far? Good to see a bunch of friendly faces in the comments. All right. What's going on, Eduardo?
So got it.
Yeah, once you whip finished it, if you remember, do you remember how to do that?
Think so.
I can help him do it. I just did mine.
Okay. So
That's it, right?
the next step you're going to do is you're going to take your foam and you're going to cut it into a shape like this with a point at either end. And this is going to form the body of the fly that's going to cause it to float. So we're going to first start right about at the hook point, right about here. We're going to start our thread wrapping around that yarn, and you just want to get it secure, then let it hang. And then I'm going to lay my foam.
Yeah, sure. Not sure how to come to it.
Lay my foam on top here. One loose wrap, another loose wrap with foam. You don't have to put a ton of tension. It'll kind of do it itself, or it'll snap the thread like that.
It's all you.
No need to worry about it being far too tight or too loose. You're just kind of, this foam is just going to be kind of, we just need to secure it to the fly. It's not going to, doesn't need to be bulletproof. God darn it. Oh. Pardon everybody while got these technical difficulties. Hopefully everybody's getting a chance to catch up.
Wrap it, knot it.
Yeah. And then cut it. Because you're going to wrap again.
There we go.
Okay.
Now I'm going to put this piece on.
So we're going to get a couple wraps. You can be a little bit generous with how many wraps you're putting on there, just to make sure that foam gets secured. So we're going to trim this thread, and then we're going to whip finish at that tie-in. All right. And then for our second to last move, we're going to do another. We're doing our second tie-in of this foam to make sure that it's, you know, float and create that nice surface disturbance that we want it to. And then I'm going to trim my excess thread. Eduardo, my name's Dan. What's going on? What's up, contest? Biggest bass. All right, if you guys want to take that, that's fine. And then to finish this fly, after we do these wraps, you're just going to kind of peel this foam back a little bit. And you want to leave the tip of the fly black, because that's kind of a hot spot for these fish. They look for the black head of a minnow in the water, and that's kind of what they key in on. So we're just going to get a couple of wraps in here. And voila, we have our Moss's Bass Popper. So if you want to trim up anything here, or you want to make your adjust your tail, trim your flash, for the sake of time, I'm going to do that after the broadcast. But really, you just kind of want to make sure it has a consistent profile and it keeps moving. Mark, yeah, it's a little bit different. Or shrimpy black eyes. I like that idea of having the eyes out the back, kind of as a shrimp imitation. Mark, where would I be without you you keeping me honest? All right, so let's tie in our next fly. Ugh. Ugh. All right, so everybody's kind of telling me I need to calm down, so I'm going to take a deep breath here. I'm going to slow down, let everybody catch up. Sorry, it's quite, as you guys can imagine, the holidays are quite busy around here. We have a lot going on in every direction, so I'm a little tired, but we'll get there. All right, so we're gonna start with our black thread. So I'm gonna get this back on my bobbin. Thanks, Mark. Josh, always happy to share fly tying with the community. It's my favorite, one of my favorite pastimes, especially as these cold, dark months are setting in and it gets dark at 4 p.m., especially up here, up north. Nick, so you're going to, when you're whip finishing, you're going to create the figure 4. Or for this, if you don't want to do it that way, you can just wrap your thread up the shank.
Yep.
And then whip finish it in the front normally.
Should I just go straight up?
What I would do is peel the foam back.
Yep.
And then do a couple loose, you can like cover a lot of ground. It doesn't need to be super tight loops so that white still comes through.
Yep.
And then just bring it up to the front where you want to tie it in and lay the foam down.
And then go back over?
And then go back over it.
Got it. Thank you.
Oh, Greg, you would understand why I don't have a beer if you knew the night I had last night. We're also out of beer. We're saving up for the holiday party next week. We gotta save our strength. So I'm getting my thread all set up onto this bobbin. I'm letting the two lovely gentlemen in the audience catch up.
Oh man,
There you go.
a little shaky on the blue part of it, but
Oh yeah. Every time the next one will be better, and the next one will be better.
yeah, it's fine.
I'm not
All right, so I'm gonna get Joe. Always happy to bring back corduroy, one of my favorite materials, and just an all-time classic.
You're gonna pull that back.
So we're gonna get our thread set up here and get it up on the shank of the hook. I'm just trying to close. If your hooks have a little bit of a gap in them, you can just create some wraps up at the top to close that and to make sure your line won't leave it. That's normal in kind of the hook manufacturing process because it's just bent wire. Some companies are a little bit more stringent and better with it, but we can fix anything with a couple of thread wraps. So I'm just covering the shank again, just makes it a little bit easier for the materials to grab it, especially ones like craft fur that tend to try and wrap around the hook and run away from you. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get another thick tuft of our craft fur here. I'm gonna go a little bit thicker than I did on the last one, so maybe about that thick. Woo! To everybody on Facebook, thank you for defending us against our first live troll. Hopefully it's the first of many. But we are, it's exciting that someone thought they could come on here and trying to ruin our good time. But we're going to keep on trucking. All right.
All right.
Here.
We're all set.
Mark, I'll show you what I was talking about when I'm tying in the craft fur. So I kind of measure, take my right hand, and I measure it out. And I'm like, okay, that's a little too long. That's too short.
Yeah,
Whatever. I'm going to go right here.
I see.
I'm going to take my left hand,
Yeah,
and I'm pinching the shank of the hook
yeah,
as well as the material
I see. Okay.
between my index and forefinger, or my index finger and thumb. And then I'm taking my thread, almost using the edges of my fingers as a guide. And what that does is just keeps the materials tight and I was too close to the hook point there.
But you get the big bushy tail. I didn't use enough material. That was my problem.
I didn't use very much in the first one either. So basically, yeah, it just, when you grab it like this and you're able to, it just kind of,
Yeah, no. We're doing.
for me, it just allows me to control the materials a little bit better.
Work as a perch.
Nice.
And with other colors of craft fur, because I know you guys both, I think, have some from that
We
other
saw
kit.
it about
Yeah.
the perch.
Just do a ton of different colors.
Yeah.
Play around with it. You never
Like
know
green,
what
orange.
those fish are going to be keyed in on that day.
Okay, now with the example in this, I can practice at home. That's the key.
Yeah, it's
This one's
a
probably the easiest.
it's a very simple tie. There's a couple little bit of a complexities to it, but once you kind of master those little steps, it becomes much easier. Hey everybody! Ooh, Mark, I like the dubbing loop idea. I'm not going to do it tonight because I don't have my tool, but if you want to get fancy with that, go ahead. It will be just like the bleeding gurgler we did a couple weeks back. So again, I'm going to take my one strand of crystal flash. I'm going to double it over, trim it, and then I'm going to do that again so we end up with, I don't know, a length of crystal flash about the length of the tail. Come up, boink, trim that, wrap it around, okay, there. Wrap it around my thread so I'm center tying,
You see your first one.
and I'm going to get that on the side of the hook the way I want it. Brush it back with my left thumb and forefinger. Get a couple trapping wraps. We're going to let that hang. We're going to grab our second strand of crystal flash.
No, this is the example. Kidding me? It's like.
I bring my dad home flies from the fly shop. Look what I tied. It's like, wow, that looks like it took you decades of skill.
Hell, it did.
I was complimenting him on his thing, and he goes, "No, that's the example." Still work.
Craft fur. He said it was fish hair. Yes, sorry. So this is craft fur, fish hair. I mean, it goes by a ton of different names. It's really more of a, I think the kind of universal name is craft fur, but various companies have different monikers for them for their own private label materials. So I'm going to wrap that down, and there we go. Got my craft fur in there. Hey, what's going on, John Navarro? Good to see ya. So, yeah, Joe, I mean, I agree. I think he was kind of confused, but I mean, then it took a weird turn, and he was challenging us all to a fishing competition. And I mean, maybe he has the time and energy to set one up, but I don't. So yeah, we're going to tie in our yarn here. Remember, you're tying it with the main strand hanging out the back. So we're going to wrap that forward. And then all we're going to do is kind of cover this excess yarn and make sure it's nice and secure. And then we're going to wrap up about 2 hook eyes behind the fly there, or behind the eye. So just a little bit back so we can make that little nice platform for our whip finish and our thread head. Yeah, I don't know. So we're just going to wrap this. Same thing as before, you want to have touching wraps. So no part of the black thread or any part of the silver hook shank is showing through. And just like I've done for every other material, I'm going to wrap my bobbin or my thread around this material twice. And then I'm going to tie it in. And all this does is just gives you a much more secure material, because it's trapping. As the thread tightens, it pulls it tighter. And it'll just prevent you from having like a material just escape your thread and not ruin a tie, but make the next tie-in more frustrating for you. So just like before, now we're done with we're done with the black thread. And like I was saying to our live audience members here, Nick and Mark, all you can do is you can continue to use the black thread if you want. I'm going to switch to the blue here. Stan, yes I do. Around here for our striper fishing, we don't have a ton of weeds on the surface. But if you were, I use like a 65-pound fluorocarbon, something real stiff, as a weed guard, and you just kind of reverse tie that in so it forms a little hookless weed guard. Those are really handy if you get a lot of weeds in your area, or if you just don't like getting snagged up on the bottom. So now we're going to whip finish our black thread, and you're going to watch me struggle to thread the blue thread through my bobbin. So really glad everybody tuned in tonight. We're having a great time on the 10th episode of Tie with Postfly.
Yeah.
You guys believe that? We've done 10.
Put a bunch on this one.
You guys have spent 10 hours with my face. We're having a great time doing it. What would you guys think if we did a guest tire? Maybe I get Pete to come on and tie one of his patterns, or get somebody else involved. Would you guys like that? Do you never want to see me leave? What kind of other flies would you like me to focus on? Let me know in the comments. We'll do our best to accommodate. Like I said, that we couldn't have grown this thing and built this thing without all of you guys watching and tying along with me, or our 2 live audience members. Couldn't have done it without all of you guys doing this, and I'm super stoked to be able to. Ted from Peninsula Outfitters. All right, I will try and reach out to him. Unfortunately, they kind of have to be local to New England. Greg, yes, we do these every Thursday at 6. Like I said a little bit ago, next week we won't be able to because we're going to be throwing a party here at Postfly. If you're in the area, come hang out. And then we'll be right back the following week. Brian, yeah, Tim Flagler does all of our trout tying videos on our YouTube channel, and he does a phenomenal job. What would you guys think of doing like a fly tying challenge? Like Pete and I each get a little bit of materials and we got to come up with a better pattern. Ooh, Stan, we have a humpy. Oh, John, craft beer that pairs well with this. I'm kind of in love with the Fiddlehead IPA right now.
It's good beer.
That's what's been kicking around.
Second fiddle.
Second Fiddle's pretty good. But what we're going to do now is, like I said, I see how I started my blue thread right about the hook point. So we're going to tie in our foam. Hopefully you guys have trimmed these. When you're tying the rest of these patterns, I would recommend just pre-trimming all the foam. If you're going to tie all these poppers, just makes it really easy. It takes like 5 minutes to do, and then you're all set for the rest of your tie. So we're just going to get this puppy on here. And just like before, you don't have to be crazy amount of tension on your thread as you're wrapping the foam. It'll tighten down on itself. And this is really thick foam, so it's not really going to go anywhere. Give it a couple little snug tugs, but you don't want to kind of crank on it like you could on a bucktail, because it's just going to snap your thread. So now that we've got that tie-in done, going to get a whip finish around. Here, Nick, this is how I whip finish over.
Yeah.
So you create that figure 4 and then you bring it around the fly. So I'm going like this, around
I'm
the
getting
fly.
like snagged.
Yeah. I'll walk you guys through once I have to bid goodbye to these lovely fellows on the internet. Make it like a chop tying. Ooh. Joe, I like that idea. We might have to do that one. So once I've got this first tie-in section on here, I'm going to hold my foam back and start right behind my black thread head, just securing my thread. And then bring it up over the top and wrapping this foam in. And you'll notice the higher this sticks up, the more water it's going to push. So if you want it to push a lot, kind of manipulate it so it stays up higher. If you want it to kind of slide and just kind of get that V in the water, you can leave it down so it's a little more nose. And after we've got these couple wraps in here, we're just going to advance our thread outside of the foam and get a couple wraps, make sure everything's secure. And then we're going to whip finish. And we will be donezo with that fly. This is a great time if you have Loon epoxy or UV resin, or if you use nail polish. Really, whatever your poison is, you can do a lot of different variations on this. Just play around, get creative with it. It's a very simple fly. Like Mark was saying earlier, it's a great shrimp pattern just with the way that the foam sits on the top of the hook. Kind of looking like a prawn scooting through. Fish it on like an intermediate or a sinking line. It'll act like a swim bait, it'll pull down and then kind of come up in the water column and go down. And sometimes that's the action you really want to get that big eat in that fish, especially on the flats. For striper, if you can get that movement and that kind of flutter, that's what they're looking for. Shrimp, they're looking for crabs, they're looking for that flutter movement in the water. Todd, you could use red flash. Some red flash on the throat could be cool. Like I said, just play around with the color combinations. I know if you guys have been tying with us for a long time, there's a very strong chance you have many different colors of craft fur. Play around with that. Use a dubbing loop for the body as opposed to the yarn, like Mark Bump was talking about. That can get you a different kind of look, a little bit more flow, a little bit more of a body to it. Change up the size, go huge for like a big busting bait fish, go really small for like little shrimp. And this could even be just in any colors. For my poppers, I usually like yellow over white, purple over black, or black over purple, red over white, chartreuse and white, kind of your normal bait fish streamer patterns and colorways. Those are kind of the ways you want to do it. Oh yeah, Greg, our shop is located on Route 1 in Newbury, Massachusetts, right up on the Merrimack River that forms the border of New Hampshire and Massachusetts. So we're right up, well, about as far north as north can go in the state.
Right.
But, so unfortunately, I don't have enough time to do another pattern because my camera battery is about to die. I want to thank all of you guys viewing and tying with us. Thank you so much. This is my favorite part of the week. This is my favorite hour. Love spending time with you guys. So like I said, next week we're not going to be doing one. I'll still post what our next fly is going to be so you guys can order it and be ready for I believe it is the 13th. Yeah, next week. We won't have it. We'll have it on the 20th will be the next one. The 13th is our party. So come hang out. Come down to the party. Starts around 5 or 6 around here. We'll have beer flowing. There will be a lot of really cool deals in the shop right here. We'll probably have the Traeger going. We'll have some nice beers. It'll be a blast. It's the best night of the year for us. Yep. Thank you guys. Have a great night. This has been episode 10 of Tie with Postfly. Remember to use Tie with Postfly 10 at checkout for 10% off of your order of fly materials, fly tying kits, so you can save money when you order your kit for next week or for the week after. I will see you guys there unless I see you at the party. Have a great night, everybody.
Awesome, that was great.
How's it coming over here?
Good. You're good.